Hi there everyone, welcome back to Team Channel. My name is Anna, and today for our video we are going to do another interesting comparison from the same pen. This is called the Pilot Elite. So there are actually two versions of this Pilot Elite. If you take a look at them, it looks like they are the same, but they are actually very different. So I'd like to mention, how different they are. So I find it really interesting. So I didn't know that there are actually two different versions, of the same pen. One is actually made in Japan, and the other one is actually made in Korea. So this one is actually 14 karat gold nib, and this one actually has a stainless steel nib. So I thought it's very interesting to compare them when it comes to the writing. But before we get to that, let's take a look at some dimension comparison of the pen, starting with the material, that they use. So the material that they use in both of these pens are the same, in a sense that the body of the pen is made of resin and the cap is made of metal. So this particular Pilot pen that I have here, they advertise the cap to be made of aluminum, but this particular one that I got from eBay, and it says on the website it's from Korea. They say that the cap is also metal, but they did not specify as to what kind of metal it is. However, judging from just the weight of the pen, they're very light, and I would say that, I'm just inferring that since they are both from Pilot, I would say that they are both aluminum metals, but don't quote me on that. Okay, so this one did not say specifically what kind of metal was used, but this one, they say it is made of aluminum. And let's take a look at the body of the pen, and also, the size comparison. So if you take a closer look, you'll see that one pen is actually um, thicker than the other. So the black one that you see here is actually more slender. It's thinner. This one is a little bit thick, but not too much. But you'll see that there is some slight differences in terms of the circumference of the pen. Now let's take a look at the top. So we'll do from top to bottom comparison here. So the one on the left side, that is the Pilot Japan. As you can see, the top of the cap is flat, whereas this one has a more or less, rounded cap. Okay, and if you take a look at, the clip here, they both have like metal rings on them, but this one is thinner, this one is a little bit wider. But if you look at the cap or the clip itself, the clip is more or less identical. They both have the branding Pilot on it. The difference is the branding on this stainless steel one is actually a lot deeper and a lot bolder than the 14 karat gold one. Now, here we look at the band of the cap. As you can see, this one has an extra, like thinner band on top of that wider band. This one does not have that. Okay, now both have the name Elite on them, and there are some slight differences when it comes to like the font that they use. They are more or less the same font, but this one is, I would say, bolder, and thicker. This one is, I would say, like thinner font. But when it comes to the font, the kind of font that they use, it's the same. Okay, so let's take a look at the back of this cap. So if I rotate it and look in the back, this one actually has the name Pilot Japan on it. This one here does not say anything. It just says Elite, and it does not say that it is in Pilot Korea or anything like that. However, it came with a green sticker, Pilot Elite, and it did specify here what nib point it is. It's actually, an extra fine nib. So that's about the cap. So let's take a look at the bottom of the pen. The bottom of the pen is actually flat. Both of them are flat. This one actually Okay, looks like even. This one does not. So it actually has that kind of like an indentation, like a circle indentation on there. But that's how you know, or how you can tell, the difference between these two pens. Okay, now let us take a look at the size comparison of the pens. So although you can see that this one actually is longer, just for the sake of knowing, the comparison of the line of the length of the pen, let's just take a measurement. So this one is actually a little over 4.5 inches long. This one from top to bottom, let's take a look. This one is actually longer. This is a little over, as you can see, it's like 4.75, inches long. So just a little difference in terms of the length. So this one being, like a tad bit longer than this other one here. Okay, but more or less, very similar pen, very similar look, very similar, classic feel to it. Now, this pen is actually older, okay? It says that it is manufactured, somewhere around, I don't know, maybe 1970s or 1980s. And this one is actually fairly new. This is manufactured in 2023, and you can see that on the nib, because Pilot actually, like put a stamp on the nib, telling you the date when it's manufactured. So this one is actually, older pen. Okay, so let's take a look at the nib of the pen. So if you remove the cap, you'll see that there is a slight, not slight, a striking, that is what I want to say. There is a striking difference in terms of the nib of this pen. So the one on the left is basically the Pilot Elite 95S is what it's called sometimes, in the website. And this is in fine nib. As you can see, it's also, bigger and a little bit more exposed, as you can see. Now, the one here on the right is the stainless steel nib from Pilot. It does not have much name on it except the name Pilot that's engraved on the nib. I don't know if it has that breather hole. This one has a breather hole. This one, I don't know if this one has, breather hole inside, but it looks like a hooded nib, or maybe not fully covered, but this is like a semi, hooded nib. Now this one, actually, the one on the right, this is actually an extra fine stainless steel nib. Let's take a look at the feed of the pen. The feed of the pen actually looks very similar to each other. Okay, I did see some differences, in the design. As you can see, this one has a hole where your ink goes through in order to fill up the converter. This one actually has a hole, but it's not circular. It's more of like a squared hole where the ink goes in. Okay, if you take a look at the side of the nib, this one, I don't know if I can pull this nib out, and I am not going to try that because I do not know the size of the nib underneath the hood. So I don't know if it's the same as this one. It's just that it's covered, but I don't know that. I have not tried that, and I will not try that. So if you take a look at this newer Pilot Elite pen, I don't know if you can see that. Do you see that little kind of like indentation on there where it seems to me that you can slide it out, kind of like similar to like how the Lamy, nib is like sitting on the feed, something like that. I think that I can somehow kind of slide it off there. I have not tried that, okay? So I will not recommend you to try that, but it's just an observation. All right, so that is what the nib looks like. All right, so let's take a look at the feeling mechanism of these pens. um so actually this one has the Pilot ink cartridge in it, but it actually came with a Pilot squeeze converter. Okay, I did not use this. It was very difficult to remove at first. I thought that it was forever built in here, like it's coming like part of the pen that I could not remove. But I contacted the seller, and they say that you just have to twist it like counterclockwise and then gently pull it out. So I was able to take this out, and this one actually takes a Pilot cartridge. It also would take the regular Pilot Con 40 converter. So this is what it has right now. Now this one here, when I got this, it did not come with a converter, so I have to purchase the separate Pilot Con 40 converter, which is fine with me. I mean, some people hate it, but for me, that's fine because I'd like to switch inks, every now and then. All right, so that is basically what the feeling mechanism is, of this pen. Now, before we test this out, before we see how the pen writes, I'd like to mention something about the like the capping mechanism of the pen. Like how do you cap the pen? Very interesting. So this one here actually slides off very smoothly, okay, and it slides back in, okay, slide on, slide off. I don't know if that is the right way to call it, but it just slides on there. So it seems to me that it's not a snap-on cap, because it's not like the Lamy or the Pilot Metropolitan or the Diplomat Air or something. It's not like that. It does not snap in place, but it slides in place, is what I would say. Okay, so there is some kind of friction, mechanism built into the cap of the pen, kind of like some kind of rubber, like underneath that cap, that allows it to securely, slide in, this pen. But what's amazing about this is you have this kind of ring in here that also acts as a kind of stopper. Like it stops you from pushing too hard, because you cannot like push the cap beyond that ring. Okay, so it I think that's the purpose of that. It kind of prevents it from sliding it too far or something like that. Okay, now both of these pens actually post securely. Okay, so same thing also, that particular ring in here prevents you from sliding this cap further than this. It will not go further than that. So that's the limit of it. It stops it right there. So same thing with this one here, same mechanism. Okay, now let's take a look at what the pen looks like when you cap it, when you post the cap. So again, when you post the cap, it transforms into a pen of interesting length, more or less the same, more or less normal size pen, which makes it handy. You can put it in your pocket, but it transforms to a regular size pen when you post a cap. So it's very, very nice. The same thing here as well. Okay, so very, very similar. So now for the fun part, let us take a look at how the pen actually writes. So without further ado, let's get to it. So I am going to do the newer Pilot Elite first. Okay, and I am actually swatching on or writing on my Tomoe River Nanami notebook. And for better view, I hope that you can see this by zooming it in. All right, so this is Pilot Elite. Oops. And sometimes this is also known as, I know, 95S. Okay. And this is actually 14 karat gold. Another interesting feature of this pen is if you actually put a little bit of pressure on your downstrokes, it does produce a fine line variation. So let me just show that to you here. Okay, this is Pilot Elite. Okay, 95S. Yeah, as you can see, it is thicker. Very, well, yeah, thicker than the first one, right? So 14 karat gold nib. Okay, so let's do like a normal line here. So this is the kind, oh, by the way, this one is fine. Okay, fine nib. If you just do like some lines with little pressure, that's what you get. If you vary your pressure a little bit and press a little bit, that's what you get. I recommend you not pushing too hard because you know you don't want to put too much pressure beyond what it can handle. Let's do like an axis in here, you know, some 8 figures there, some waves. Okay, so basically that's what it looks like. So the ink that I'm using here is KWZ in honey. All right, so that's what it looks like. Now let's take a look at the ink flow of the pen. And as you can see, it is actually fairly wet there. And this is actually a smooth writer. I've had other Pilot fountain pens that in medium nib, but this one is actually in fine, but because of the ink flow is very good. It does lay a thicker, you know, line on the paper, but then again it all depends on, you know, the amount of pressure that you exert. So that's about these Pilot Elite. So let's take a look at the Korean version of this Pilot Elite fountain pen. This one I inked this up with just a black, you know, ink cartridge. So I'm going to write the name here without exerting too much pressure. Pilot Elite, this is stainless steel. Okay, and this is in, you know, an extra fine nib. So those of you who are interested in knowing, does this have a bounce to it, just like, you know, this gold nib? And the answer to that is yes. So let me demonstrate that to you here. You can actually do the same, you know, line variation with this pen. Okay, it is stainless, steel, okay, extra fine nib. So as you can see, it does have that ability. Okay, it does have ability to produce a little bit of, you know, line variation, very similar to this one. So they are not flex pens, but you can do fine line variation with it when you vary your pressure. So let's take a look at the thickness, the thickness, I would say, of the pen. Okay, so here it is when you do not really put pressure on it, and this is when you put pressure. Let's do some X's, some 8 figures. Okay, that's what it looks like. And then the ink here is Pilot, just the black ink cartridge, you know. All right, that's what it looks like. So let's take a look at the wetness. Okay, so it's not too wet because you know I'm not putting pressure, but if I do a little bit of pressure, then of course the ink there is, you know, a lot wetter. Okay, but more or less, you know, they have more or less the same, you know, ink flow. Okay, so really interesting comparison. Now when it comes to the experience itself, so there are some tactile differences in the way, you know, these nibs feel when you write. It is something that I cannot demonstrate because it's tactile, so you almost have to hold the pen and feel it yourself. But this one, because this is made of stainless steel nib, the nib is harder. Although you can do a little bit of line variation with it, it's hard for whatever reason. This one, because it's made of 14 karat gold, it has more softness to it, it has more bounce to it, but it does not mean like it's soft. You know what I mean? It's still firm, it's still stiff. There's just a little bit of bounce to your writing here. Okay, now when it comes to the smoothness of the writing, I mean both of these pens write smoothly, but I would say that the 14 karat gold is smoother than the stainless steel one. So the stainless steel one, for whatever reason, feels stiff and hard to me. It does not make it um like feedbacky or anything, like it's not like that, but it's just a difference in the tactile feeling like when you write. Okay, but both of these pens are really good pens. They are from Pilot, they are both excellent pens. And for those of you who are on a budget and you know, like if you cannot afford to buy the gold nib pen, then absolutely try one of these stainless steel pens and see if you like it. Okay, so they can actually produce, you know, the same quality of writing, you know, for less than the price. And also, you know, I am actually looking to get like a more cheaper pen because I'd like to use it solely for permanent inks, something that I don't have to worry about, you know, when I ruin it. So that is actually initially my intention why I actually purchased this stainless steel pen, because I wanted to like devote it solely for like a pigment ink, because the pigment ink is a little bit, I don't know if it's even right to say that it's harsher on the pen, but it's something that would require, you know, like maintenance, more maintenance. So that's the reason why I bought this. So but again, it's very interesting and I thought that I would, you know, share it with you. So what do you think of these two Pilot Elite pens? Okay, are you willing to try, you know, one of these pens? Okay, let me know. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you have not subscribed already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you will be notified, you know, when I upload my other videos or my next videos. And if you have any comments, questions, suggestion, you know, just put them in the chat. No, I should refrain from saying chat. Put them on the comment section below. And, you know, I enjoy hearing from you guys. And thank you again very much for watching. You know, have a good day and bye. See you again.